Bibles this morning. Book of Titus, chapter 2. Again, happy Mother's Day, and thank you for your work here at the church. Thank you for your work in your family and all that you do for us as kids, as husbands. I mean, let's face it. You got to raise your husband too, right, ladies?
Train him.
I'm just checking. Train him. It says train up a child in the way he used to go. And when he's old, he'll not depart from it.
I'm still a work in progress.
You're not old yet then, are you? In Titus chapter 2, I want to look at a couple of verses, but I got to get my glasses first. Hang on. Cindy came in this morning and said she forgot her glasses. I almost forgot mine. Look at verses 3 and 4 here in chapter 2. Now, I'm going to say something. Y'all don't take this the wrong way. Okay? Because what does that say in verse 3? The aged women. Okay? All right. The aged women likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh holiness, not false accusers, nor given to much wine, teachers of good things, that they may teach the young women to be sober, to love their husbands, and to love their children, to be discreet, chaste, keepers at home, good, obedient to their own husbands, that the word of God may not be blasphemed. Today we're going to talk about seasoned saints. Is that a good way to put it? Okay. I got a tagline for you at the end. Stay tuned, okay? These are the women who have folded 1 million loads of laundry. Prayed over rebellious teenagers. And now watch young mothers panic over things like sugar and screen time. Red dye 40. I mean, I was raised on that stuff, right? Look how well I turned out. It's not that funny. Okay? And we're talking about the moms who've have made it to the bonus rounds. Okay? You've done with the diapers. You've driven the minivan until the wheels fell off, okay? You've packed enough lunches to cater a school. You've said, because I said so, more times than the Psalms have verses. Okay? Yeah. And now you're in the stage where your kids are asking you how to raise their kids. Or maybe the grandkids are asking you how to raise their kids. You got great grandkids, okay? Even though they're probably going to ignore the advice you give them anyway, right? Yeah. Right? Yeah. Okay. So, welcome to the Seasoned Moms Club. The hot flashes are real, from what I hear. The grandkids are loud, right? Yeah. Wouldn't have it any other way, would we? Wouldn't have it any other way. So I want us just to think a few moments on what does that mean. I kind of, as I look around, we've got moms in all stages. Just starting out, kids are a little bit older, teenagers, grown, out of the house, got kids of their own, great grandparents now, maybe. Okay, and so I kind of got to think about what can I say to kind of fill in some of the gaps in everything that we've got, because everybody needs to learn something this morning, even the guys, as hard-headed as we are. But the first thing for us this morning is this: teach the younger ones if they'll listen. We read there in Titus chapter 2, the aged women, the seasoned vets, teach the younger. Teach the younger generation. In fact, if you go back in the first couple of verses there in Titus chapter 2, it's telling the men the same thing. It's telling the men the same thing, but here's the catch. It's hard, and I've learned this teaching teenagers, it is hard to teach somebody something that they already know everything about, right? Yeah. Mary's looking at Debbie. Yeah, I said that, and every grandma in here just made a noise because they can relate, all right? And let's be honest, the younger generation often don't listen, right? Yeah. Because you know how I know that? Because I was one of the younger generations. And you know what? I didn't listen. And I wish I had listened a whole lot more. As I get older, I wish I'd have paid a lot more attention. I wish I'd known then what I know now. We didn't listen because, some of these younger parents, I think they're inventing parenthood, right? They think they've invented it and they know everything there is to know about it. You've seen it as we've gotten older. All these things, and I've learned this with Georgia, all these things that these babies have now. There's apps to track naps. I'm glad I don't have one of those. Imagine what that would look like. A Sunday afternoon would be a flat line. They say things, well, I would never yell at my child. Oh, you just wait, honey. You got no idea. We'll just sit back and eat our popcorn and watch, won't we, Dave? Because it's coming, all right? The seasoned moms, we've survived the spilled milk. We've survived the loud car rides. We've survived the child with a fever at 2 a.m. and no Tylenol, okay? And worst yet, group science projects that are due the next day. And you just found out about it. We've all been there, okay? You've earned the right to say, sweetheart. Mamas, you've earned the right to say, sweetheart, just breathe. This is not the end of the world. It's just a dirtier pacifier. You dip it in the sweet tea and they'll be just fine. At least that's the way it worked when I was growing up, okay? Now, I read that, and as soon as you turned to Titus chapter 2, and I said verse 3, some of y'all looked, because it said the aged women, didn't it? It said the aged women. Don't get all offended. Remember in the Bible, older just means you're over 30. Paul told Timothy, let no one despise you because of your youth. Timothy was 30 years old when Paul said that to him. So, that means you survived your children. We made it, okay? We're on the other side. Paul says, seasoned moms, we need you. We need you. Paul says to the older ladies, they should be able to teach what is good. He doesn't say nag about what is obvious. He says teach that which is good. Because sometimes, let's be honest, you want to tell those younger parents that baby doesn't need the pureed kale, organic, whatever, okay? Don't need that, okay? He needs a nap and he needs Jesus, amen? I still need a nap and I need Jesus, okay? But instead, we smile and say, you're doing a great, honey. Would you like a break? Here's the trick. Seasoned moms teach by sharing, not by scolding. Boy, it's hard to get away from as we get older, isn't it? No matter how old our kids are, we want to make sure they're doing what's right, don't we? And there's that fine line that we got to cross. That we do that. We don't lecture. Just tell stories that start with. Now I'm not saying this is the only way, but let me tell you what happened when I tried that. Okay, and you go on and you tell what happened. When the younger ones ignore you, just say, "Bless your heart." Now, if you don't know, that's Southern for good luck. You're about to learn that the hard way. Okay? We've lived enough to know the difference between a phase and the end of the world. Okay? How many times do we hear that? Well, this is just the end of the world. It's over. I'm done. Tell when a kid's actually sick or just avoiding something at school. We've been there. Okay? Comfort the younger mom who's crying in the church bathroom because the toddler just screamed, I hate pants during prayer time. The world may tell you you're past your prime, but the church knows better. The church knows better. We need your voice in the chaos. We need your perspective in the panic. We need your peace in the middle of toddler tantrums and teenage drama. Your wisdom is not outdated. It's tested. It's trusted. And ladies, it is exactly what someone younger is praying for, whether they know it or not. To every seasoned mom, keep sharing the stories, laughing in the chaos. Keep reminding us that motherhood may change, but the faithfulness of God never does. And to the younger women in the room, take notes, ask questions, And the next time a little silver-haired saint says to you, honey, let me tell you something, lean in and listen, because they're about to impart some wisdom on you. And you need to pay attention, because she's not just giving you advice. She's handing you a life raft with grit and with grace. Younger moms are Googling things like what to do when your kid eats a crown. Seasoned moms are just like, that kid's going to be fine. He's going to poop purple for a little while, but he's going to be just fine. Teach the younger ones if they'll listen. That's what Paul's telling Titus there in chapter 2. Number 2, she laughs at the days to come. Over in Proverbs 31, the mom chapter in the Bible, okay, talks about all the characters of a mom. Now, a great lady in the Bible is going to drive a stake through a guy's head. Don't believe me, go read it, okay? That's one of the characteristics. They're that fierce, all right? It says this in verse 25, Proverbs chapter 31. She is clothed with strength and dignity, and she can laugh at the days to come. Sometimes when a mom laughs, it's not always because something's funny. Right, guys? Right? Yeah. It's because if she doesn't laugh, someone might die. In there. Okay? But what kind of a woman looks at the future, looks at the chaos, looks at the world around us, and is able to laugh? A mother who's been through enough mess to know that God still comes through. And so today, we're celebrating that kind of laugh, the I've been there laugh. The this too shall pass laugh. This my kid tried to cut her own hair again laugh, or my husband cut my daughter's hair. Guilty, the night before pictures. Okay? The I don't know what we're eating for dinner and I no longer care laugh. Laughter is a survival strategy. And let's be honest. Motherhood is full of a lot of things that no one prepares you for, isn't it? Parenthood is that way. We don't know what we're getting into. They hand you that baby. Where's the manual? What do I do with it now? That moment your kid proudly hands you a booger is a gift. I have fit poop and booger into the same sermon. Yes. Okay? The sound of silence in the other room. It's probably a Sharpie marker on your walls, your end tables, your refrigerator, your couch. Or, that was Haley, or nail polish all over the floor. That was my son. Okay? The day you realize you've been talking to a toddler all day and you accidentally say potty in an adult conversation. You know? But laughter is a gift from God. It's how moms have survived for centuries. And let's be honest, it's cheaper than therapy. You know? It's easier to find than your teenager's shoes. In our case, it's mom's shoes. Okay? Under the bed, somewhere. Okay? Understand, this verse in Proverbs chapter 31, it doesn't say she worries about the future. Did you catch that? She laughs at the future. She laughs at it. Why? Because she's made it through the late nights. She's made it through the broken hearts, the cracked phones, and more drama than a high school musical. And at this point in your motherhood journey, you've earned the right to laugh. You've earned the right to laugh. You've seen so much that, let's just be honest, nothing shocks you anymore. Right, ladies? We've seen it all. Your adult child calls you because the washing machine is making a weird noise. That's just karma. Okay? Your daughter said, I sound just like you right now, and you smile and say, you're welcome. She laughs at the days to come because she knows the future isn't in her hands. It's in God's hands. It's in God's hands. Her kids might act up, but grace is stronger than attitude. She may not know what's coming, but she knows who walks with her through it. Moms, you've got the spiritual gift of finding joy in the chaos. You've laughed while cleaning up the messes. You smiled through those parent-teacher conferences. Okay? You've kept going when everyone else was done. That kind of strength only comes from Jesus. Laughter is holy, especially for moms who've learned that worry doesn't solve it, but prayer and perspective does. You're not retired from parenting, you've been promoted. Okay? Now you give wisdom and you hand back the kids when they get sticky. So to every mom, grandma, aunt, spiritual mother, keep laughing. Laugh when your adult kids finally say, wow, you were right. Laugh when your grandkids call you fun because you got all the snacks in your purse. Okay? Laugh because God has brought you through more than people know. And when you face the unknown, those things that are yet to come, laugh. Laugh. Enjoy it. Throw your shoulders back, take a deep breath, and smile like a woman who knows God's got me and I've got snacks. It's okay to laugh. Teach the younger women. Laugh. Number 3, your gifts grow with you. Now, the world acts like you age out of motherhood. Okay? You never cease being a mom, like it's some kind of gym membership. Okay? But God never uncalls what he's called. Look at the life of Timothy. Paul says to Timothy, I am reminded of the faith that was in your grandmother and your mother. He didn't just have one hero of the faith. He had 2 generations of spiritual moms. Paul says, I'm reminded of your faith, of your sincere faith, which you lived in your grandmother, Lois, and in your mother, Eunice. That means Grandma Lois wasn't retired from the ministry. She was still pouring that into Timothy, into her grandson. She had promoted herself to a legacy builder. And so think of the things that you've developed over time. The ability to cook, the ability to fold laundry and to correct a child, all at the same time. Okay? The instinct to know someone's lying without any of the evidence. You know? The sacred art of looking at someone and making them sit up straighter without even saying a word. Those aren't just mom skills. They're ministry gifts honed in the trenches. You may not be chasing toddlers anymore, but you're chasing something better today. Wisdom, discernment, patience, and maybe a grandkid down the driveway on a scooter. Don't bury your gifts under the label of used to. God says, fan into flame the gift of God, not fan into nostalgia. Maybe your kids don't need rides anymore. Now they need wisdom. Now they need prayer. Now they need someone who's walked through storms and still laughs at the forecast. You're not just someone's mom, ladies. You're someone's anchor, someone's encourager, someone's GPS when life gets sideways. And let's be real. Who's the person they call when things fall apart? What did he say? Ghostbusters. Washing machine breaks. Mom, what do I do? More month than money. Mom, what do I do? More, we've all had those phone calls, haven't we? We've all gotten those phone calls. So if your kids are grown, if your knees crack when you bend down, if you know, now you use phrases, back in my day, congratulations. Today you're a prime spiritual leader. Sometimes older moms, they feel forgotten or like their usefulness has passed. Let me tell you something. My mama is 86 years old, suffers from Alzheimer's. You guys know this. I'm going to be watching later this afternoon. So, Mama, happy Mother's Day, okay? I still learn from my mom. I still learn lessons in how she's handled even this stage of life. Mama still handles it with grace. Mama still handles it. And every now and then, Mama will throw out some wisdom. And you just kind of, you have to take it and move on. Our usefulness is not gone no matter what happens in our life. You're not a backup singer. You're still on the main stage. You're not in the way. You're paving the way. Okay? You're not outdated. You're just pre-Wi-Fi wisdom. God never stops using us. Never. Moses was 80 when he led a nation. We already mentioned Lois and Eunice passing down their faith to Timothy. You might be one cup of tea and one encouraging word away from changing someone else's life. As I think about that, I think about when we first came here 14 years ago now. Those guys were, Haley was like 7. Zach was, like 3, almost 4. We had a group of ladies that sat right about where Paul and Candy are sitting now. That was the blue hair row. Great ladies. What the unique thing I learned? Those ladies were older. Mona was in her 90s. Ruth was in her 80s. Mabel was in her 90s. Geraldine was in her 80s. Hazel was in that group. Jeannie was in that group. And so as I think about those group of ladies, I think about, they really didn't say a whole lot, did they? But they still poured so much. Not just into us as a church, but as your pastor. I saw their grace. Leanne laughed teaching Bible school here during Vacation Bible School. I think one of the first years we had done it. She said, I looked up and I had a row full of kids here and Mabel and Ruth sitting back there. And she said, and I knew, and I didn't have to worry about anything because those two ladies back there were praying for me as I taught that Bible school lesson. They poured into us. And as we've gotten older, I hope we are doing that same thing with the generation to come. I said a few Sundays ago, what are we building on the generation that's coming behind us? What are we doing? And ladies, this is your opportunity. You're still changing someone's life. You've made it through the skin knees, the driving lessons, the teenagers with attitude, and the adult kids who only call you when they need help with their taxes. We've made it that far. And yet, you're still showing up. You're still praying. You're still loving. You're still texting. You're still calling. Because our calling didn't retire as we got older. It expanded. We're not as fast as we used to be, but we're still fierce in the right ways. You still carry a voice that calms, a heart that sees, a faith that stands. So today, we honor not just what you've done, but what you're still doing, what you're going to continue to do in the name of Jesus. So let me say this very loud and very clear to us this morning. Ladies, we still need you. The church still needs you. Your family still needs you, even if they can cook on their own, sort of. So for every seasoned mother, grandmother, spiritual mother in the room, you've changed the diapers, you've survived the spelling test, you endured the teenage eye rolls, and you somehow still showed up today with grace in your heart and snacks in your purse. You may not run as fast, hear as well, or remember why you walked into the room. Guilty. But hear me loud and clear. You still got it.
Amen.
You got the wisdom the world needs. You got the faith that's been tested and found unshakable. You've got stories that carry healing and humor and hope. You've got a calling that didn't expire when your last child moved out. It simply leveled up. So ladies, keep teaching, keep loving, keep laughing at the days to come, because we're watching, we're learning, and we're grateful. You're seasoned. You're not shelved. You're anointed, not archived. You're still called, still chosen, still got it. And remember, I told you I had a good one to end it with, right? You may be a seasoned mom, but honey, you still spicy. Happy Mother's Day.